Okay, we are live again. And as the title stated, I'm looking for some feedback, or if anyone out there that's watching um, has ever used one of these super safeties or any style forced reset trigger. I'd like to know your experience about it because they're kind of expensive depending on which ones you get. And something's I'm not sure. What I'll tell you is because I was reviewing the budget ARs, I got a budget super safety, and these things range anywhere from like 120 units to, like 180 close to. And this is the type where you get the trigger, it's been modified. You get the little push button cam barrel thing and this little lever and a modified safety detent. Or, yeah, that's what your switches. And supposedly you push it 3 different ways. I put this in the Argons or whatever. No, not Argons. Radical Firearms. Uh, excuse me. Um, Rifle because the back of the receiver was all cut out, so this low shelf, high shelf thing was there. But I could not get it to function. It would function in semi. It would go and save. But when I put it into the FRT mode, it would just lock up, the bolt wouldn't go back, and all kinds of weird crap. So I have no idea. And unless you pay somebody a ton of money, one guy makes a little 3D printed jig that you can scribe a trigger and then do the shaping and profiling. Now you got people that say, hey, I just put it in and it runs. And then there's people that put it in and it breaks and it doesn't run. And you got to change buffers and you got to grind stuff. And it gets weird. And even more expensive ones, that little finger snaps off, locks up, or whatever. So that was something I was looking into, but man, it's expensive because those little basic kits, and there's like 8 different places that sell them. Okay. Like I said, 125 up to almost 2. Then they have one that is just ambi lever with a thing that I guess you just take your standard thing and shove that in there. And that's another thing. You really don't have to permanently modify your gun. That's about the only good thing. Morning, Megabait. So that's the only good thing about it. But then you go to the next level, which is the ambi selector. I don't know how that works. You're going to go to like 225, 230 for that one. And then the other ones that are trigger pack with the ambi selector and all of a sudden, they go from 5 bills up to 700 units. Okay. Ammo costs enough just to do a mag dump. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was looking into it. It seems to be popular. I guess somebody made something, they sold 6,000 of them in 35 minutes or something. So something to look into. Plus, the more views I get, the more, I get out of the AdSense. Okay. So something, if it gets a bunch of views, great. If not, well, it's like anything else. But it was something I think I'd throw in there. they had a big court battle. I guess, well, you got super safety, you got one thing, and then the FTRs, the different ones, they're more expensive. But you still have, and I remember was a thing that they were complaining about, is the binary triggers. The binary trigger got some weird mechanism where you pull it once, it fires, and then when you let the trigger go, it'll fire again. Okay, and I guess those and the super safes that are a packet, the expensive ones, or the forced reset, they call them FTRs. Those are the ones the ATF was beating on your door and saying, you got to give them to us. Okay. But they went through some court, three-ring circus monkey show, and I don't even know how it works. Something about the technicality of that. It is still, it's kind of like, I guess, if you pull it and you pull it too hard, it won't work, or not enough, it won't work. And I went to Atlantic, and they have bump stocks back again, which those are another, I think the least expensive ones like $180 or something, and they go up from there because those are crazy. There were a couple C notes, if not three. Okay. And that's just the damn spring. You hold it and you hold your hand still, and the gun moves enough to reset it. But I've seen people shoot them before they're totally banned and forbidden. They do work. You can get them to work. Okay. But then again, you have to have a whole damn fixed stock unit on your gun. So no folding or collapsible. I think, I'm not quite sure. But it was another thing. There's a lot of money. And now a lot of these rifles that I'm reviewing, these trigger packs cost more than the whole damn rifle does. So who knows? I may have some sort of contest or something when it comes time to say this idea didn't go anywhere. And I may be getting rid of these if somebody's adventurous and would like to get into it. Because really, I never had a damn purpose for it anyway. I can shoot the semi-autos just as fast. I used to. My hands are still good. So you never really needed to fool with that. And over the years, there's been a lot of crap. They've always had, even back in the 70s and 80s, the drop-in auto sear with some kind of device. Somebody made one using a coat hanger. The one guy there is in jail. His friend commented that he had a sheet metal card that if you filed the shape and shoved that inside your rifle, it would make it, full auto or whatever. He's sitting in a federal prison over that horse shit. So there's always a gimmick or somebody come up with something to do this wild crap. But I just want to know, I guess, from the whole huge list of comments I got here and everybody going crazy, showing up to watch, I guess none of you fellas have fooled with it or even tried or don't want to admit that in public. Because just as they were made supposedly legal and unrestricted, that can be, I guess, reversed through the course of time. But it was just an interesting thing. And like I said, it was something neat. Really didn't quite understand what they are. Hey, good morning. Well, like I said, the one thing is you somewhat don't have to permanently modify the gun to do this. But my first attempt with a Radical Firearms, it doesn't work. I don't know if it's because the company I bought this for sent me a piece of crap or what. And like I said, I'm going to get one of them trigger packs. It costs more than the whole damn gun itself. I mean, it's not worth it. Okay. But there is a slew of videos of people that put them. And another thing, there's a lot of people telling you this thing is great, but there's one guy that was warning you about 9mm carbines. And they're tough. They're tough to get running by themselves. Well, you gotta take the weight out, or you have to machine a channel into the weight of the bolt. And if you take the weight out and give it the room, you throw the speed of it off. And there was a guy in an indoor range firing it in a 9 carbine of some sort. And luckily he had his head up. He was just firing it down at this range. And I mean, it fired out of battery, and the whole top of the gun just exploded. Well, poof. You see the charging handle come back, and the upper receiver just was gone. So whenever you do any of that, and that was always a problem when people were fooling around doing this stuff or doing some illegal modifications, what it would have been. You were always warned by people. Number one, don't do it. You're breaking the law. Number two, it can be very dangerous because there's a bit more to it than just changing something and getting it to run like that. And that was a big thing. Like a lot of people said, you have to balance this out. You get bolt bounce. You get all kinds of stuff. My last comment just got deleted about buying it. See, I have no idea what we're, because you're talking about Firefly bolt. You're talking about modifying or adding something to a firearm. Okay, I'm surprised they didn't shut this down. Of course, I'm not showing it either. I'm just discussing it. But I guess the comments, if you're talking about modifying, see, that's another thing. This is weird. Okay. I don't know if just having this title can get this live thing shut down. Okay. And then I was thinking, well, if I was going to fool with this, I'd like to speak my mind, manage prices, and that. So I went and looked at Patreon. I can post videos on Patreon. So I'm looking, okay, what are the restrictions? The restrictions states right in there when it comes to firearms. Any videos where you're increasing or making it fire more rapidly or modifying it, or it's just like what I wanted to describe and do is right there. I may have to do it on Rumble. I really haven't seen. I have to go back and check Rumble because I haven't seen anyone do it on Rumble. I don't know. Yeah, so who the hell knows? But it is an expensive endeavor, and just like the first comment, you go through a lot of ammo, and they're telling me 20 cents a piece or something. It's more like 25 for 9, but it's more like 40, 45 cents, not for 5.56. And just citing the guns in that I've had, and just running 80, 100 rounds through them, that's almost 500 rounds here, in 100 rounds a piece, 3-4 guns is 400 rounds. And reloading, I went and looked up reloading. It ain't cheap. Even if you get the bullets that are Armscore or God knows who made them, when you pay the shipping and the sales tax, there's 10 cents a piece. Buying decent ones are 22, like 22 cents. And those are like the Hornadays. I mean, they shoot really great in them guns, but now you're talking it's going to be over 50 cents every time you yank on the trigger, you know. So I don't know, but I was thinking what I'm going to do with the empty cases is I've never tried, I think it's either 77 or 75 grain bullets, which is like a heavy match thing now, match grade bullet. PPU does make a heavier 22 caliber bullet, I think, in a full metal jacket. And their bullets are fairly good. I might go into that and try that with 77. Plus, I'm able to use that reloader 15 and a half and load some cartridges with that. And that's another thing. Use that stuff up in my experimentations. It did good with 22 250. So much so there's an auction coming up. If I can pick up a used one cheap enough, I'd go with that. But it looks like, well, we got some people here. See what I don't know. And you're always the same person that says you and I think maybe one or maybe two other people have said that when we post the comments, they get removed. And I don't have any type of a damn regulating or monitor or nothing. So, I don't know what to tell you. Send me an email or something. We can discuss it. I wanted to try to figure out how to do this on Rumble, but, I get a lot of people telling me, well, I ain't going to go. I can't get it on my phone, and I'm not going to sit in front of a laptop or a desktop to watch your video or anything else. And unfortunately, even if I did get it running, see, I think with Rumble, I'd have to buy some sort of software or member, pay a monthly fee for some type of service in order to do that. And I don't, by a long shot, generate anything. It's like this thing here, this StreamYard, going deluxe in that, and to get the software that I could get on to Rumble would cost me X amount a month. And for what they're charging, YouTube and everything, I don't generate that much money to do it. I just lose money. It'd be like constantly losing money as we go. TOS. Yeah, TOS. Okay, Rumble has, yeah, like when all those different alternative things started out, be it Rumble, be it whatever, they all, Odyssey even, all of them, because there was BitChute, Rumble, I joined all of them. And a lot of them, the software in that did not work well for like years. I had trouble uploading stuff and everything else. And then it kind of got better. And I mean, Rumble's pretty good about uploading now and all that other stuff. That's all supposed to be monetized, but in all the years, it's been several years, I've monetized all the videos, and I don't think there's more than $2 in that thing, maybe 3. So I don't know how that works. Okay, with YouTube, it's a lot better. You know, I don't know how it works either on views or on clicks or on. It's all a great mystery, but it does generate something. And a lot of the memberships, there's some people that just get a membership to help support the channel, and that helps out pretty good too in there. But looks like we ain't getting a lot of people here. It was doing pretty good the last 2 weekends, had 24, 25. Unless they just don't like the title or something. I don't know what the fuck. I'm on my Better Half channel now. All right. Well, I wonder if they'd you could be, because they sent me an email, and I've been putting out some sort of a video once a day or something. And they sent me an email saying, as far as creators go, the amount of content you've posted since I've been doing this since 2011. And in the old days, I didn't really post a lot of videos. There'd be spurts where I do like 4 or 5 of them in a few weeks and maybe not or whatever. But now that I've been cranking them out just about one a day, they told me I'm in the top 20%, okay, of creators for the amount of material I put out. And they said, we've noticed this, so we're reaching out to you, to congratulate you and say, hey, you're doing real good. And I don't know what the hell they're suggesting. I'll go look at that. All right, keep it up. We ran the numbers and you're crushing it. Since the program started, you have been a content powerhouse, and we've noticed. Your upload frequency has been remarkable, and in perspective, you've uploaded more content than 80% of your fellow partners, placing you in the top 20% of the program. And they tell me how much all this other stuff, tips for creators. But they didn't send me an award or anything. So I don't know. I do not know. Rumble's a mystery to me too. Yep. No one knows. Well, like I said, it must have been a title or something. Really only got 5 people viewing. We're doing a lot better, 24 and that. Of course, at the height of it, I remember we used to get 70, 80 people come to the chats. That was before we had to stop it, I guess. Or because I actually got suspended for saying something I shouldn't have. All right, thank you. But yeah, don't look like anybody's doing much. Let's see something here. Boom, 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 boom. Well, it looks like the Gun Geek may have a chat coming up. Or Milsurps. Yep, I have a lot of experience with it. I do fool with the hunting guns because generally my friends would ask me, most of the reloading is also for the military guns because the ammunition's hard to find nowadays for some of it. And but some of my friends that hunt and that, I experiment with stuff and as a favor, do things for them, help them out, and things like that. But yeah, the milsurp is good, but the whole milsurp uh, hobby has become really tough. Okay, and because fewer and fewer things are being brought in, like now you'll see some Czech CZ82s came in. How beat up they are, I don't know, because they only show you the good ones. And then some Browning high powers showed up at not Century, Classic Firearms, and they show you some really nice guns. But then there's the customers showing you pictures of some really pretty worn as shit guns, and so it's still, oh, it's like that Italian, the Beretta 34 I bought from PSA. I was pretty leery that that gun was screwed up and that barrel wouldn't shoot. But once I got used to the pistol itself, I found that it shot well. And the reason I got those other two barrels was just to switch them out and see if they would all go along. And the one that's pretty beat up actually got bashed on the end. It's shot fairly well, probably recrowning it. And the one that looked the best out of the whole bunch, I couldn't at 7 yards hit that paper, with that gun. And of course, oh well, that's close range gun. Yeah, it should be able to hit a 12 by 10 piece of paper at that distance. But you never know. I've seen people test firearms that I've owned several from the company that made them. Never had a problem with them. This one guy was testing that from Radical Firearms, and his cases were actually splitting and exploding in the chamber while he fired the rifle, which either that's the wrong size barrel or somebody really did not ream the chamber out when they made the barrel. They could have, because I think what is it, 204 Ruger or something. I heard somebody said they put the wrong barrel on an AR or the wrong chamber, and it would do that. But I was surprised. And, you're going to hear something bad about every product out there. If you search, you will find, and if you look long enough, you will find a video where somebody tells you that this thing is junk. It doesn't work. It fell apart. On a lot of things. Just about anything. Another thing you could do is resub to your channel because people don't get notified when you post a stream. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Okay. They have to resub to get notified. It's like after a certain amount of time, the notifications stop. I used to get them. I used to get a notification whenever somebody posted a comment on one of my videos. I would get that notified in the email. That stopped. So, yes, okay. I have to get everybody to resub. let me look under my settings. It's pretty simple. Channel settings, advanced settings. Made for kids. Channel visibility is public. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I guess I will make a video about this, and hey, thank you. I will make a video about this and try to get people to do it. I guess, well, they should, well, I did stop for a while. They should know that I'm doing it every Sunday, but yeah. But I don't know why it does that. You know, I was getting all these notifications, and then they just all of a sudden one day stop. You know, which the comments, man, I have no idea why that was done. I could do this so I could see if they're getting put into spam, El Spamarino. No, there's no spam whatsoever. No, that showed up, but it's not. Yeah, it's not in. I got one person that subscribed. I have no idea. But yeah, I know that. I mean, in general, it's usually by now getting in this far, it's usually 10 people. So something, it's like I said, and I have not changed any of my settings. Okay. I don't change any of that. I used to get an email notification, you know, from all the different people I subscribe to. That used to happen. How many people have I subscribed to? I guess I gotta go to dashboard. Blah, 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 settings, or is it in this? Let me look on this. Subscription. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm going to try him unsubscribe and then resubscribe. And let me go to there's my buddy Carson. Let me do him. My other pal. And then resubscribe. I'm going to try that. People I know. Let me see if there's somebody that posts a lot. This guy does. And Atlantic Firearms. Captain Ball, he's always been doing stuff. And I've always used to get things. So, all right, let's try the resubscribing. So we got that done. Yeah, see, this is the kind of the controversy. I'm kind of screwed. I got one of the kits, but to go to my club, if I cut loose with that rapid fire, they'll suspend my membership. So now I'm stuck between the rock and a hard place. I had this thing, and even if I get it to work, function test it, I really don't have nowhere to shoot it. But I seen a guy locally somewhere, and he was running them all at some friggin' range somewhere. I got to try to send him an email and see where he shoots. All right, so now we're back to 12 viewers again, so a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's a jury-rigged selective fire is what it is. And I don't know how the hell. Well, it's like them short barrel shotguns. The definition, if the barrel's so long and overall, it's a sawed-off shotgun. But they did this shit. They call it a pistol because it never had a stock attached. It just had that handle. So that made it a pistol, and then it's all good. They should just get rid of the, National Firearms Act is what the hell they should do. Oh, thank you there, my friend. And that's what they should just eliminate it. Cause a lot less hassles. But I mean, going back to the FTRs, once they made them legal again, and it was announced that they're legal, one of them companies sold 6,000 units in like 30 minutes. So what the hell? But yeah, another thing too. The reason I'd like to try it is I like to say for myself, is this worth it? Even if it does work, the amount of ammunition you're basically going to waste, kind of negates that. On top of the fact you're spending $100 at the least to do this without said modifications. If you need a heavier buffer like a H2 or H3, it's another $35. You got to change it out, and it doesn't always work. One place tells you H2, one H3, then one guy put a H2 in there, the gun didn't work. He put the original thing back in, then it did work. So it's not as proven. It's not as everyone. Oh, it's easy. It works 100%. That's not quite true. Well, my age, I thought about that, and no. I did it one time. I was going to build myself a range, 30 years ago, but I had to leave the state and everything, and then now that would have been a huge waste of money. The way the gun laws in some states are, that wouldn't have been a good deal. But yeah, I wish I had enough land to where I could just walk out back behind the house, shoot whatever the hell I want, and be so secluded that it wouldn't piss off anybody where they were carrying on. Because one guy built a damn sporting clay range and had a gun shop and all this other stuff. He built this. He went and asked everybody, I'm going to do all this and build this. And everybody in the area said, yeah, we're fine with it. And once he gets the shop up and running, of course, there's somebody with a noise complaint. It just, And I don't know if he eventually had to shut the operation down or what, but it could be. Here, I don't know. And I was thinking about it. When we go back to the forced reset triggers, there's me and the wife were sitting by the fire pit the other night, sitting there, and I can hear and I tell her that's full auto fire. And there's somebody in a farm around here somewhere because I live in the county. We're not in the city limits. Okay. If it wasn't for the fact the houses were so close together in my development, if I had a hill or something on the ass end of my property, I could go and shoot if I want, and nobody can complain as long as it's in daytime. But I don't. Okay. I don't have that. Now, one of my neighbors does. He has something there. There's an empty section of land, and he was shooting his pistol for a time there, but I think someone complained or something, or there may have been, you know, there wasn't a really good backstop like a hill or something. It was just probably going and bouncing off trees. And the weird thing is, even though it's a forest, whenever you shoot even a handgun, it will bounce and do weird crap off of trees. And I think there may have been an incident because he don't do that no more. Yeah, but see, land developers they don't think like that. Okay, there was another range where I went for my concealed carry thing because in this state you have to go shoot, and same deal. It was just a little simple thing set up. And there's a guy who owned it, and it was like a little private thing or something, and he would rent it out, and he came down and all this other stuff to talk to us. But yeah, there's a development right there, and all they do is try to get it shut down. Okay, developers don't care. It's like turkey shoots. That was something hugely popular here. I remember back when I was a kid in New York, they used to have them around every Thanksgiving in the fall. We used to have turkey shoots everywhere. You get food prizes, money prizes, whatever. It was a big deal. Every sporting or uh, every the hell do we call them? Fishing game clubs. A fishing game club usually had a tract of land with a range and all this, or they had a pavilion with a kitchen. A lot of the companies, when you had the company picnic in the summer, you would go to a fishing game club and they'd rent them out for that. They had like a volleyball field, maybe a basketball court, restrooms, and all that other stuff, and then the gun range. Um, but yeah, they used to have them, and now they've complained and did so much that a lot of them have closed up. I think there's one left that is in a park or something set up for it. And I mean, it used to be a good thing to go to. Me and my wife used to go there in the fall all the time, but now it's the only one left. I think they have 15, 20 shooters, and you have to go there and like, it's like $3 or $5 a round. And the last time I went, I got like 3 or 4 of them in a row or something. And I had to wait 15, 20 minutes for them to cycle. And then, I picked the same stand and same number. And then just, it turned into it's not pleasant. And there's a lot of people there. It's not like it used to be. Yeah, it happens here. There's farms or people shoot. One of my neighbors, he is at the end of the development, and there is something to where he has a berm in that, and he'll shoot his handguns every now and then down the end of the street. But I don't think anyone complains because there's this dead space behind him for quite a distance until we go to the next development, that's a ways off, so he could get away with it. And it was strange how they built that house. That was not part of what was going on. It was like a side deal. And they built that home there. It didn't quite fit in. It was done as a favor from the developer to somebody. He actually sold them the plot, and he did not build that house. Somebody else did. So that was unusual. Compromise, so limited hours, close on holidays, etc. Yeah, see, mine is 7 days a week, the whole year. There's no restrictions. Sun up, sundown. Okay, but it takes me an hour to get there, and it is in the middle of friggin' nowhere. Okay, it's way up there. There's a few people living in trailers and that around there. I guess it don't bother them, or even if they do complain, there ain't much they can do uh, up there. Yeah, I mean, if California, God only knows what the hell law is there. Missouri ain't a bad place to live, I don't think. And 40 acres, that's a pretty good spread. That's a pretty good spread. Yeah, same with me. Me and my wife, we both lived in cities um, when we were younger. Now we moved here. It's not quite rural. Like, if you go a short distance away, I know people that they have more or less farms. They got, like you said, 40 acres of land. My buddy told me I got 40 acres of land. He goes, there's part of it where there's a stream and you go in there. He goes, I never been on them 2 acres there. It's all overgrown in the corner of his land. That's where he has his coyote problems. Um, so yeah, that's close by. You're talking mile and a half or something. There's a section where there's some pretty large farms. You know, uh, I can do it. I can hear people shooting in there. That's how close they are to me. Yep, 52 acres. That's pretty substantial. Most I ever owned was 3 acres with a house, but it was kind of marshy, so that's why I got a deal on it. Really couldn't do much. But yeah, 52 acres, that'd be nice. Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, that's where living in a city has its advantages, but it's all gotten kind of nasty. It used to be when you lived in the city, everybody was somewhat civilized. Society was a different thing. Okay. Um, Now, I really don't think there's anywhere, any type of city where you're not going to run into problems. It's kind of universal. It's just how the things that make a city convenient are also the things that create the friggin' problems. Okay. Um, you know, that's just how it goes. It's like it's too far for people wander around and crawl through your yard, okay, because there's vast distances. Like, takes me 15 minutes just about to get to any type of a store or anything. Some are closer, like convenience store or gas station, but who does their grocery shopping out of a gas station? Yeah. Yeah, because it's expensive. Let me see if this resubscribing has done anything. No, not that I know of. Well, let me go back to home. All right, Gun Geek hasn't gone live. Must be near hour, so it's almost 11 o'clock where he is. Must be he's in church or something. Because he was doing some lives. Them guys sit there for like 3 hours, him and 314. They just sit there for 3 hours and just go on. I can't do that. My throat gets friggin' dry. I have to drink something, coffee, water, or something. Too early in the day to be drinking beer. Yeah, I was stationed when I was in the Navy. I was down there in San Diego for a while, and actually I was stationed in Long Beach, California, and because my ship was built in Todd, LA Pacific, which was right next door to where the Pacific Line or Pacific Princess Line was with the Love Boat. Okay, and some of the guys that still lived there told me all of that's gone. That's all out of there, and they just extended the port of Los Angeles even out onto the peninsula where the naval base was. They tore all the buildings down, and now it's all just docks and the port of LA. San Diego itself also it's different than what the hell it was when I was there many years ago, in 35, almost 40 years ago. And yeah, I guess because where Long Beach is, it's like a suburb of LA. We used to go down in LA and that, and even San Diego, I guess, down where National City and that, or downtown. When you go down and go towards National City, going left, it would get, down where 32nd Street and shit is. I guess those places are terrible. Yeah, homeless and everything. I think even because we stopped up, we had ports of call, Seattle and that, and where Pier 70 is, that tourist pier, whenever you see anyone do anything in Seattle, they stop there. If you kept going and walked about 4 or 5 blocks, that's where all the Merchant Marine Union halls were, and I think it's Market Garden Square or something was in the center of downtown there. And one person went down there or something that looked familiar, and the guy goes, "We come in a group." And Seattle's pretty far up north, okay? So it ain't like balmy there like Southern California all year round. And there's people just lying there with a blanket on a concrete where it's raining, it's kind of rainy and snows up there. And these people are just lying there in the street. The guy goes, "We don't come here alone," because even when they're handing out food to them and that, he goes, "They'll just jump up and attack you." He goes, "This is a very, very dangerous place to be." And I'm like, oh boy. So yeah, I see how that's working out. Yeah, they probably thought your propane tank exploded. But see, that's another thing. My club won't allow me to do any rapid fire or full auto or anything. No 50 cals and no tannerite. No explode, because we have our backstops, and I think with tannerite you just blow the shit out of the backstop faster than we normally get it. Uh, you know, through shooting in a normal rate of fire. So, yep, no tannerite, no testing out the force reset trigger. Well, things are different. 40 years ago, where I lived in upstate New York, it was great. The gun laws kind of sucked, but you could own an AR. A lot of people hunted. A lot of people, being a machinist, it was all just factories up there. You're never out of work. Okay. And it wasn't terrible, even though the winters are harsh and all that other stuff. I mean, I lived there about 40 years of my friggin' life, and I was happy. Then, next thing you know, all manufacturing shuts down. So, somebody like me, I'm unemployed. And, you got somebody like Chuck Schumer, who was a senator in the state there, telling us, well, manufacturing's gone. You can always get a job as a busboy. All right. I'm in the middle of my career making decent money. I'm skilled labor. And now you're telling me to go back to when I was in high school and wait on tables and mop floors and stuff. There's plenty of jobs for you. That's what the hell we got. And I mean, the population just dropped. Anybody who had any sense sold off everything and just picked up and left. And now that I live here in North Carolina, there are people from New York. And when I first moved here, it was Ohio, which was another place where all industry, Ohio, Michigan, all the northeastern states, there's all these guys that work as machinists from all over up north down here. Okay. I mean, it was, and their resumes all read the same as mine. Okay. They worked for 14 to 16 years in a place. They're out in the street and, they're looking for work. And it was pretty sad. But what are you going to do? FTRs. Oh, ain't that wonderful? But have you used them? Do you have any experience with them? Do you have any input to tell us? Okay, my dad's mom in San Diego, Long Beach. Yeah. Yeah, once any of these military towns, when they shut down, because like where Utica was, we had an air base. We had a strategic air command in Rome, New York. And when they shut that air base down, number one, like 50% of the friggin' population of that town or city is gone. So the only thing they could do is just immediately increase taxes and that. And, they told me when they closed the base at Long Beach, it wrecked that town. San Diego, I don't know. I went there. I didn't hang out. I went to a couple reunions. I stayed at the hotel and just kind of wandered around downtown for an afternoon. Went to the zoo and all that because my wife's never been there. So we went to the zoo. We went to SeaWorld and did all that for the weekends we stayed there. Really didn't hang out like I used to when I was stationed there. But yeah, it's tough. And the cost of living, I think Los Angeles County was the highest cost of living in the United States. If you were in the Navy, okay, at least the Navy, your per diem, or if you live with your family off base, Los Angeles County was the highest place or the highest amount of money percentage wise that you would get being stationed anywhere else in the Navy, inside the US. So even then, the cost of living was outrageous. Chuck Schumer, he's another one. He wrecked New York and everything. And AOC. That I don't know. I don't know what's that. All I know is Schumer, Pelosi, all these, they're getting old age, like Feinstein. She was terrible from way back in the 70s about gun control, gun confiscation, all this other stuff. They kept her there to where she was like a potted plant sitting there. Her mind was totally shot. And they explained how her and her husband control like all this controlling interests in the highway department in California. And these people are multimillionaires and they've been just taking this money for years and it's all hidden in blind trust and you can't trace none of it. The corruption is beyond belief. But the only thing is these, what do they call them, these politicians that have been entrenched, time. Like the Dalai Lama said, just give it time and things will change. And that's what it is. A lot of the foundation of what's going on, these people are just old age is getting them. Okay. You ain't got to throw them out. Just give it time. Rare breed L3. Well, I'm not quite sure. I know that there's several different versions. This one, I don't know what the hell it is, but it did not work whatsoever. Okay. I forget the name of the company. I have a second one coming. I'm going to look at it. But, like I said, my problem is I don't have nowhere, even if I did get it to work to test it, I can't do it at my range. They'll throw me off, they'll throw me out of the gun club. I have to go and find a friend of mine with some farmland and go and do it. Because I know some people around here, there's 2 very large farms close by within a few miles. And I hear people firing these things and I'm thinking, they got class 3 guns or whatever. What it is, they probably are out there in the back end of the farm testing it out. Let's see. Yeah, I know. I've only started collecting them since the 90s. Yeah, it's a super safety. I didn't get any of the fancier ones. What were you talking about? Rare breed. Let's look that up. Rare breed. Oh, that's one of them packs. Yeah, that's one of the ones. Let's see what the options are, curved or flat. Yeah, 375. Nope, because I'll be installing it in a rifle that costs about the same as with safety costs. Yeah, super safety. See, that's just it. I hear so much conflicting stuff and watch different people that test it. And again, you're going to get people sponsored by somebody that's going to say everything positive. They're not going to tell, and for to stand there and shoot a couple mags through it, okay, yeah, it worked. How does this thing stand up? A lot of people say it works okay, and then something breaks, something gets screwed up. It's tough to say, and it's an expensive proposition. This is not something you just like he said, this little super safe. Yeah, it's $120. Okay, works, don't work, yeah, but and this one here, he's talking about this one to get it with the shipping and that, it's over $2, $2.25 or something, unless you catch a sale or get a coupon or something like that, I guess. But I heard that this one is another. It's like super safety. Next step up is this. Then, like he's talking, rare breed and all that other stuff. That's on another tier. And actually, the 375 that I just seen is pretty reasonable compared to others because they start at $5 and then up, depending on who you get or what you get. Canac's a great gun. I own a couple. I had a couple of them. I had one of them ones in Damascus, a little bit more compact. I still have the full size gun. I made a video discussing it. I've had that gun for years. Canacs are great guns, okay? And they're not that expensive either. I've never had trouble with any of them. Yeah, I just went and seen that. That's one of the drop-in housings. But then again, like I said, it costs more than the firearm I'm going to put it in. AS Design Super Safety. Yeah, see now I don't know if there how many different types there are or what's different. They all look the same, the super safeties. They all basically look the same. Excellent. Yes, they do. Very reliable. Okay, but see, you're the first one. It's telling me you're using a full-length rifle stock, an A2 stock, with a standard spring and buffer. See, this is the difference. Everyone I've seen put a video up is not doing that. So that may be something to look into. I don't know about that. I don't kind of keep up with a lot of the new gun stuff. Basically, what I do is I get bombarded with this stuff that the prices are so low I can't resist. Things that used to cost $5 you're getting for 3.5 now, or 5.5 now you're getting them for 3.5. I don't really get into the new stuff. Yeah, see, I think that's a problem. They could reverse this and then you know, I don't know. Could be a bad thing. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like you said, so it costs you more than a firearm. Then you had to get a buffer spring and put more money into it, and that. And I mean, it's nice to say, hey, I got experience. I tried it. You got an opinion whether it works or not. But after testing it and saying, okay, it works, it's cool. you know, the that's another thing, is the practicality of it. And like John here just brought up, these people can reverse this whole back and forth with pistol braces, everything else, and that. These jackasses, you don't know what can happen, could reverse it, and like he said, the next thing you know, they're going through records and hunting you down for the friggin' thing. And say you did a deal where you just liquidated it yourself to someone without no way of tracing, you know, then they're gonna demand to know, where is it? Well, you know, I got rid of it. And then they go, to who? You know, you can tell them Crazy Ahmed down there down the street, you know, or whatever the hell. Not, you know, it depends how you look at it. Not really. They're reliable and dependable. What they do is the Turks copy the guns. Like one of the Canacs, it's like it has the same striker fire system like a Walther, but the lower end of it will be almost identical to a Glock. So they don't get hit with patent infringements, and the reason their guns are less expensive is because all the design work's been done. All they need to do is copy the dimensions and produce the parts to a set thing. Because I think it's, as long as it's 32% different, you can't get nailed for a patent infringement. So if you got like a one style slide in the upper half of the gun, the other thing is kind of like a Glock clone. That's how they get away with doing that. But they do manufacture under license certain guns, like the Beretta 84 series, and I think the Beretta 92 is also produced under license. So they're not clones or something, you know, like the Spanish used to do, make something just like it. They're actually produced under license. ATF knocking on any doors. Oh, okay. Well, like I said, you never know. Things can change. I think we need to talk more about TTF 12 semi-auto. TTF. Is that one of the semis I got? TTF 12. Let's take a look. Oh, Tokarev's. All right. Well, the one I had, it always worked good. And it always, you know, I had no trouble with it. There's other people that they had the same damn gun, didn't work worth a damn. And as long as you clean it, take care of it, you know, I'm not shooting 1,000 rounds through it. I put a few hundred or a little over 100 or something testing it, and that's it. The pumps too. Yeah, I only paid, like I said, even though they were 99.99, you're still paying with shipping and handling another 40, 50 units. So actually, they're not a Sino, they're a Sino and a half shotgun. Then if you put accessories like the sights on there, that's another 30, and then the sling was another 18 or something. So, but yeah, if they did work, they still work. The pumps, the one pump I had trouble with, I believe the receiver was warped or something in the machining. But they are for what they are, you know. And then again, how often do you shoot any gun? I know people that buy some pretty expensive firearms and really never shoot them much. Okay. And I know people that buy some inexpensive guns and shoot the hell out of them. A lot of that has to be factored in also. Years ago, Savage 22. Savage made a lot of auto rifles over the years. Got to remember, they've been in business for a very long time. Depends on the arm. Lost in a boating accident. Well, that could be true. You know, who the hell knows anymore? Yeah, there's been a lot of Turkish pistols out there, and they're not bad. Okay, the Canax I like. Like I said, I'm gonna make some videos. I'll show you that one I have. It's the SPF something or other, I think, or something. They still make that, but this is an older one, and it shoots well. I like it. It's work good. Actually, most of the Turkish guns that I bought, no matter what they are, Glock clones or whatever, most of them work fairly well, and they're not expensive. KSG 12. All right. Well, that helps with the resale value. Every time. Yeah, I mean, they used to advertise them in the back. Guns and Ammo had Sarco and all the different companies used to put it in there. But that's the way you got it. Like when you bought Shotgun News before the internet, okay, I'd have to get a Shotgun News, find an advertisement for a company, and I would go to a gun dealer that I knew that's what he kind of specialized in, and I'd ask him, are you going to get these in? If you do, call me on the phone. If you get a shipment, I'd like to. And it's kind of like, there was one company used to advertise in there out of Florida or something. I forget who it was. And he just didn't do business with them. And basically, if I wanted something, I'd show that person the ad, or you go to a dealer and go, hey, could you get this? Or, and if it was some dealers, just like now, they'd say, okay, yeah, this is what it is. I remember one guy said, I want that pistol. You go, just add $50 to it, and give me the money, and I'll order you one now. And when it comes in, a lot of dealers would just charge you at the time $50. That wasn't a transfer fee. That was, if you wanted it, whatever that price was, you paid me 50 more. I made my $50. That's what I make on the sale of a gun, and I'll order you anything you want. And that's how you did it 40 years ago. Yeah, see, that's the problem with antiques. Unless you're an advanced reloader, not just somebody that buys a case off the shelf and reloads it, because I got into this with people. You have to go and do some machining, some altering, either blast them out or get a whole pile of extremely expensive dies to fabricate the brass. That's what a lot of people don't understand. That's why somebody will charge you, okay, $5 to $8 a round to make that ammo. Okay. The bullet molds, I can have anything I want made, but generally the cost is $200 for a set of custom bullet molds. And if you're going to get, just getting one cavity, okay, maybe to test it, but if you know what you want and you can do it, you get 3 or 4, because the idea is to offset the cost of the mold, cast up the bullets, and liquidate them or whatever. That's where I got burned this last time, is whenever I'd get a custom mold, I'd cast some bullets and I'd say, hey, shoot me an email, want to pay for these, give me X amount, and that's what I got in trouble for. So yes, it is quite an expensive endeavor, and as my hand gets worse, all of this becomes problematic for me to do. Takes a lot of skill and money. A few Vipers still in the boxes, and a N1 Sega. Vipers. Oh. Well, that was another thing. If you had the foresight and the things were cheap enough, there's a lot of things. If I bought a spare or 2 others and just put them in the box, had a place to store them, that'd be better than investing in a 401k, truthfully. But who's to know? I mean, when there's so much stuff coming in like it did, and it was so inexpensive, and then storing it. Okay, when I had to move, I had to sell the gun collection because it just needed money, and couldn't carry all the stuff around with me. I couldn't hold on to it. Life is not that easy, and you never know what pitfalls, like what's going to happen here in the future, be it with these foolish triggers or the law or the economy crashes. If the economy crashes hard enough, then, you guys out there at the mill surplus, the prices are going to have to come down. Because I've watched for some of these on the gun broker, some of these the Finnish rifles. They all want 800, 700, and that for them. All these amounts, okay, are out there, but these things have been sitting there for the past at least 4 months, and no bites. They lower them a little, maybe they'll get bid up, but then again, when they do peak, it's 5 bills instead of 7 bills, maybe 6 instead of 8. All right, so that's realistically, and I don't know, I think they do that deliberately to have this higher tier, and then that way when you're looking at it and go, well, it's like the same thing, but it's a couple C notes less. Yeah, I'm going to try to stick with it and see how it all works out. Like I said, I've gotten things kind of arranged where my Sundays are free again, and really not much to do. I do a lot of the busy work during the weekday other than have to do it on a weekend. Boom to me too, yep. Yeah, but like I said, realistically, it's impractical. When I did my study with the Mosins, I think I had I had 24 Mosin Nagant rifles at one time that I accumulated over like a year and a half or something. Okay. And the thing is, okay, I got them. I did my tests and examined them, did videos about the markings on the stocks and all this other stuff. But the truth of the matter is, I just can't hold on to 24 Mosin Nagants. And one's like one I refinished the stock with the pine tar thing or something, and it was a mediocre gun. It kind of shot okay, but I used it for this demonstration. And when I went to the gun show and set up, it was one of the things that just went. And it's just a flow of picking up things. I don't have the financial resources just to do that, then store it. Okay. It's like I was actively doing stuff. I had them. They went, then I got others. It's kind of a thing. For me to just sit there and take, like, say, 10 of them and just set them up, which I kind of did. Some of them I held for a few years, like 3-4 years, maybe doubled up on them a little more. Okay. And even now, they're a tough sell at 3.5 units. Okay. Uh, you know, you ain't going to get somebody beating the door. And granted, I'm not asking 1K like some people are, which is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, it's a tough call. If I bought friggin' gold, if I just went and bought a 10th ounce gold eagle every month since the 90s, right now I'd be sitting where, okay, I'd be good. But the thing is, number one, laying out the money for it. Number two, storing it. Okay. There's a lot of things you can say. Yeah, could have, but I don't know. Yeah, the guy that buys it from my estate. Oh well. Well, all right. I think I'm gonna wrap it up and get going. Try to keep this hour and a half, and then I will come back next week and get a different topic started and talk some more about milsurp or whatever goes down. So, all right, guys, thank you, and see you fellas next week.